What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome. Welcome. Happy Friday. I am Jackie Mott of Subliminal Mindset Mastery. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. And today's show is going to be one of those shows where we're just going to talk truth. We are going to talk truth. It's going to be very interesting how this plays out. So we'll do a little bit of the intro stuff, but stick with me because we're going to get into the nitty gritty in a few minutes. So on Time to Rise and Thrive, we talk about your subliminal soundtrack. I'll give you a quick rundown of what that means in a moment. Subliminal soundtrack, how to get it working for you rather than against you, and also learning to recognize your unique value, your unique beauty, and the contribution that you are to the world. So today's show is called The Value of Rest, Recharging. In business, there's a common idea that we need to push, 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 grind, grind, grind until we make it, right? Yeah. The problem with this idea is that it can actually lead to a guilty mind about taking the time to rest and recharge that we really do need. When we don't rest, we can find ourselves completely exhausted and sometimes even get sick. But when we do make self care a priority, here's the beautiful thing: we listen to our bodies and allow ourselves to rest, we will actually be more productive, we will be more creative, and have better focus. So, how do we break free of these ideas that have been drilled into us? Because if you're somebody like me who's taken all kinds of business trainings, it has been drilled into you: grind, grind, push, push. Okay, so how do we break free of these things? Today, we are going to talk about learning how to prioritize your self care, why it's so essential to allow yourself the time and space to recharge, and how slowing down can actually help you to speed up. Okay. Are you ready? Fasten your seatbelt. Today is going to be a whole lot of truth coming your way. So, our subliminal soundtrack, really quickly, what that means is it's my term for this like loop of messages that plays in the back of your mind all day, every day. Everything that you have ever learned in your life has given you little bits of information that have gotten stored on your subliminal soundtrack. So, every conversation you've ever had, every relationship you've been part of, every job, every experience that you have ever had has given you little bits of information that have gotten stored here. And we use this information to create our belief systems about ourselves, about what it means to have or be certain things, and about like the world in general. So we use these things in very important ways. And here is the thing that it's so important for us to remember: what we believe to be true will be true for us, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. So it's that conditioning thing. It's that thing where, you've seen this happen so many times that you know what the result is. You've seen the situation play out so many times, and this is always the result. And therefore, that becomes your truth, and it may be completely incorrect. So, one of the examples it's really easy for us to illustrate this point with is relationships. So, if you're somebody who has been in multiple relationships and you've been hurt over and over and over and over and over again, then you may develop this belief system that relationships hurt, that love doesn't feel very good, that you can never be safe in a relationship. And that will really, like, I don't even have to explain that to you. I'm sure you're a smart person and you can understand how that will impact your ability to open yourself up and engage in any relationship. And some of them might be really good for you, but if you've got that belief system playing in the back of your mind, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, for you to engage in a way that allows this thing to happen the way it should, the way it's meant to. Okay, so that's just a really great, easy way to illustrate this. So how does this subliminal soundtrack affect this whole idea of resting and recharging? And I'm going to get really, really frank with you today in just a few minutes. But If you have bought into these ideas that I just talked about a moment ago, that you have to push, 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 grind, grind, like just feel the energy of that. It's work, it's hard, it does not feel creative, it does not feel juicy or yummy. It's like push yourself through no matter what, no matter how you feel, no matter what you do, push yourself through. If you've bought into those kinds of ideas, then you are very likely going to find yourself sometimes in positions where you have pushed yourself right to your limit or sometimes even beyond. Okay. And if you believe that you won't ever be successful if you don't do this thing, you're going to exhaust yourself. And the really interesting piece is that you're less effective when you're exhausted than you are when you're well rested and able to think clearly. Okay, it's very important. It's very important to understand what this does to our minds and to our bodies. So, the other side of that is if you believe that you'll get further faster when you allow yourself to take the time to rest, you will prioritize your own self-care and you will make sure that you get what you need. You will rest when you need to. You will consume the foods that will help fuel your body. You will take care of yourself and you actually create more energy and better focus to work on whatever project it is that's so important to you. It's very fascinating, right? So, we're going to talk about this idea of exhaustion and where it comes from. And I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something. It was very purposefully done. You may already be able to see the dark circles under my eyes. I purposely did not make my face up the way I normally do for the show because I wanted this to be really clear. Because I, in fact, have broken one of my cardinal rules and pushed myself straight into exhaustion. Okay, so here, have a look at those eyes. Can you see the dark circles? Can you see the tired on my face? Because most people can. Most people can. I am worn out. We've just finished tax season. During tax season, I was still trying to do so many things that are very important to me. I was running a beta group of a new program that requires some time and energy. I was still doing my show every week, which requires also some time and energy. There's a lot more that goes into it than me just showing up and talking to you guys. There's a lot more that goes into it on the back end that you guys don't see. So, all of these things require effort. I was also engaging with some expert people who um, I really want to learn from. I really desire to gain the knowledge that I can, so trying to also then be in learning mode. And so, learning mode and creative mode and deadline mode and all of that put together have pushed me this year to a point where I've never been this tired. I don't think in my life I've ever been this tired. And that is why I wanted to talk to you about this. That is why last week I chose this for the subject for this week's program, because it is so very important for us to start to see what we are doing in the same way that I've been pulling this apart this week. And where am I going wrong? What choices could I have made differently? Because there's a plan then for moving forward in a different way. Okay, so it's very important for us to get clear on what we're doing that's actually supporting us and what we're doing that isn't. And this year, the way that I chose to do things was not productive, nor was it something that will help me to move forward because now I'm in a position where I don't have the energy for anything. I don't have the energy for anything right now. And so it's interesting because although there are so many things that I've been like all through tax season, I've been going, okay, so when we get to May 1st, I can do this and I can do this and I can do this and I can do this. When we get there, I can do this. But because of how I handled things, no, this week has been very slow. I've gotten very little accomplished this week. And that is a result of the choices that I made. So that's the stuff that I want to talk to you about today. And I talk about it from a place of I understand what I've done, where I've gone wrong, and I know what to do better. So we're going to get into all of that juicy stuff. If you haven't already got a pen and paper with you, we are going to talk in section or segment 3 of the show. We're going to talk about some of the like how to break free of this when we start to understand and recognize what can we do to create the plan to move forward and not do this anymore. Okay. And I want to be really clear with you, it is a process. And sometimes, even when we think we've got our shit together, clearly we don't. Clearly we don't. So this is not going to be about the beating yourself up for making mistakes. I'm not beating myself up. I'm just acknowledging where I'm at right now. And I'm hoping that me showing up in this way today will help you. Okay. So here's the thing. When I listed all of those things that I was working on in addition to tax season, the truth of the matter is that I could have made very different choices. I've got some really great shows that have already been recorded, and I could easily have reached out to my team and said, "Hey, this week I'd like you to play this show instead of me showing up live." Okay. I also have the option of not doing this on camera. So the added need to look professional and look on point when I did my show, that puts an added little bit of something on there that I didn't need to have. I could have simply said, "Okay, we're going to do it just audio this week." I could have made different choices, okay? So I chose to do this to myself. Maybe not entirely consciously, but I did choose to do this to myself. I could have worked on, some of those projects, waited until after May 1st and I'd had a couple of days to rest instead of trying to incorporate those on top of the other work. I could have, I could have done things so much differently. Okay. And again, we're not going into beat up mode. We are going into acknowledge where you let yourself down or where you could have made another choice that might have been more honoring of you. Okay? That's what we're looking for or looking at today. So the truth of the matter is that there was simply not enough of me to go in all of these different directions. There's not enough brain power, there's not enough physical power, there's not enough any power to try to have all of those things going at the same moment. And truthfully, we can find ourselves sometimes splitting our attention in such a way that we're being ineffective sometimes in all areas because we can't give this thing the focus or the attention that we need to do in order to make it really great. Do you see what I'm saying? So these are some of the things that happen. And what I recognized here, and it's so great that I understand the subliminal soundtrack now because I can start to understand what it's about. And then I can start to shift it. Okay. So I have always bought into this idea that a strong work ethic is very valuable. It's very valuable. And I'm not saying that it's not. Okay. But if it's overly prioritized, if a strong work ethic becomes the thing, then what happens to all of the rest of it? So, like back when I was a teenager, I used to pride myself on being able to go, do everything that I needed to do in on 3 hours of sleep. I used to pride myself and brag about that. I remember doing that. And now I'm starting to understand this idea of like, wow, you don't, why do you want to do that to yourself? Right? Why do you want to do that to yourself? I used to think that this drive and this work ethic actually showed some sort of determination and devotion. So you know what? No matter how I feel, no matter what's going on, I'm going to show up and I'm going to show up in exactly the way. And you can't. You just can't. Especially, we start to get to a certain age, right? We start to get to a certain age. We don't have all of the energy that we used to have. I'm not 20 years old anymore. I can't go the way I used to when I was young. So I used to also buy into the idea that I had to be willing to push and grind, and that somehow my willingness to do that, my willingness to drive myself right into the ground was the thing that was going to create success. Hmm. Interesting, right? I bought into all of these ideas. Now I understand that what I've actually done is created this space where I am completely unable to do the things that I would like to do because I have exhausted all of my physical, mental, and emotional resources. There's nothing left. There's nothing left. So just before we go to break, this is one thing I've done this before, and I want to just illustrate this point to you. So if this if this water bottle represents my energy for a day, okay? If this water bottle represents my energy for today, and I go through the day, guzzle, 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 And by the end of the day, it is completely empty and I've still got 5 hours of work left. Where do I get the energy? So, my thoughts on this subject are that we borrow from the future. So we borrow from the future. We're like, okay, well, maybe I won't work quite as many hours tomorrow, or maybe whatever. Maybe I won't work on the weekend, or maybe I will work on the weekend to make up the time, or whatever the case may be. So we have now borrowed. So this water bottle for tomorrow is now down to here because we didn't start the day with the same resources because we pushed too far yesterday. Does that make sense? So then what happens again is okay, so now tomorrow I'm starting with this much energy, and yet I'm going to push myself as hard as I did yesterday. So what happens then? Well, then the next day I start with this. And so I've only got that left for that day, but I'm going to push myself to do what I've done in the other days before. And now I've borrowed. So do you see? Like it's not even hard to understand. You just deplete, 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 deplete until you are trying to get up in the morning and you are so thoroughly spent that there is absolutely nothing left to give. And that, I mean, that can impact everything in our lives. It can impact our relationships. It certainly impacts our ability to work. We can become these people who are unhappy and kind of miserable because we're so exhausted. It's not because we're miserable people, it's because we've depleted ourselves completely. And now we need to go to break. We're going to go more into that when we get back. So stick with us for just a couple of minutes here. You're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, and when we come back, we are going to talk a bit more about how slowing down can actually help you to speed up. So stick with us.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back. Welcome back. It's Jackie Mott, your host, and we are here for Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. Thank you so much for joining me today. So today we are talking about this idea of why it is so essential to allow ourselves the time and the space to recharge our batteries, and that slowing down can actually help us to speed up. So I was really fortunate yesterday. I was able to be on a call with what's his name? Dr. Floyd Spence, I believe is his name. And he was giving us a lesson on high performance. He was sort of breaking it down for us. And one of the things that I so appreciated about what he was teaching was that he actually was talking about this physical need for rest and how pushing yourself beyond your limits actually costs you, because the body and the mind cannot function. They cannot function. I'm sorry to tell you, it's the truth. in the same way. So things become harder. Your thought processes become harder. It's not as easy to connect the dots or to figure out. And if you, oh man, if you have to switch gears. So think about this for a second. So I've got the coaching, I've got the show, and I've got my accounting. My accounting requires a completely different part of my brain than the show does or than the coaching does. Do you understand? So when I have to switch gears between those things, it actually can cause brain fog and confusion and all that sort of stuff. And because the taxes are so very important, because the information being provided and the deadlines that need to be met and so on and so forth, it has to be done properly. So it can actually be very taxing on you when you're trying to go between different things. It's so much easier when we can focus on one thing at a time. It's much easier on our beings, on our bodies, on everything. So this is where I want to talk about this cost of being in this mindset where exhausting yourself is good or is required or whatever it is, whatever terminology works for you. I want you to stick with that, okay? The cost of doing this. So, what about the stuff that you enjoy doing? Is there anything fun that you might like to do that when you are completely exhausted, you just can't even engage in it? You know, maybe it's conversation with friends, maybe it's going out doing exercise. Like it could be whatever it is for you. Whatever that thing is that recharges you. Maybe it's going for a long drive. I don't know. Whatever it is for you. If you don't take the time to allow yourself to do those things that are fun, then we don't replenish, we don't recharge, we don't rebuild that energy supply. We don't refill our bottle. Okay. Again, go back to that brain fog thing, right? Have you ever been so tired, just so tired that you can't really think straight? Your words maybe aren't working, or you just can't quite have those conversations. I actually had to call one of my friends this morning because I could not figure out a word. I'm like, I don't know what the word is. I need you to help me figure out what the word is that I'm looking for. She's up in Trenton, Ontario, and I had to call, I had to call her and go, help, help, please help. And I couldn't even remember what I mean. Like, I think it starts with a D. I think it starts with a D. And it's that thing when you get upset with people because you feel like you're being misused or mistreated. You know that thing that happens, that feeling that happens. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And then we ended up finding the word. It was resentful. Doesn't start with a D. Do you see what I'm saying? The brain fog can be very real. So and that's the other thing. We can find ourselves becoming resentful toward other people, even toward ourselves. We can find ourselves feeling resentful because at a certain point, we start to feel like, well, I'm obligated to follow through. I'm obligated to do this thing. And when we do things from a sense of obligation rather than from a place of choice, it mucks with us, man. We need to be conscious of what are the choices that I'm making and where can I make better choices. It's so fascinating. And you can change your mind. We're allowed to change our mind. Yeah. Next segment, we're going to talk about the concrete stuff, but that's the thing, right? Moodiness. You're so tired, you're kind of cranky. All of that kind of stuff, that is the cost. And from a purely work perspective, it can take us longer to do the tasks that we need to do. We cannot always have the thought processes and the ability, the clarity that we need to do the thing. So we go in and we try to do the thing, but we can't find the clarity. We can't really do the thing and it takes us longer, and maybe we need to come back to it tomorrow or whatever the case may be. Go and take a nap, I don't know. But when we don't have the clarity, it takes us longer to accomplish the tasks and the things that we need to accomplish. One of the things I think about is like when we're in a mode where we're trying to clean our house. So that's one of the things that usually ends up sliding a bit when we get toward the end of the season. And I was looking around my house last week, I guess. I was looking around my house going, oh my God, I cannot wait to get this place tidied up because it was really starting to bother me. And then, so Saturday, I couldn't do anything. Sunday, I started trying to clean the house, and what would normally take me about 2 hours took me all day because I didn't have the energy to keep going. Do you see what I'm saying? So I get one thing done and then I'd have to sit and, take a break, and then I'd go back, or I just couldn't remember where I'd left off, or whatever the case may be. So it took me so much longer to get done what I wanted to get done. And what should have taken me a couple of hours took me all day. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is what happens. These are the costs and the prices that we pay for this push, 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 grind, grind, grind. Don't let yourself rest. This is the stuff. This is the real stuff that happens. Okay. So here's the solution. We talked about the cost. Now, what do we do? Rest for as long as you need. So if I had been taking good care of myself last weekend, I would have gone, you know what? Okay, so the floor doesn't get washed today. It's okay. It's okay. It hasn't been in a couple of weeks anyway. Another day for me to rest and relax would not have changed anything except pushing myself further than I had the resources to push myself with, actually prolonged the discomfort with a messy house. Do you understand? I'm really hoping that this is resonating for somebody out there, because this is the stuff that is like real life costs. And now again, the solution. Do not try to put a time frame on how much need you rest, or how much rest you need. See? Brain fog. Do not try to put a time frame on this thing. You need as much rest as you need. And if you do not take the time, again, you will just continue that exhaustion and carry it forward, carry it forward, carry it forward. There's a very real reason why a lot of accountants go on vacation for a week after tax deadline. There's a very real and a very good explanation for that. We need the chance. And whatever your circumstances is, I'm sure that most of you are not dealing with those exact deadlines and timelines and things that I was working with. But this could be anything. This could be caring for a loved one. This could be a job. This could be any circumstance in your world. This could be a relationship that depletes you, a relationship that does not have that like flow, that energy in, energy out. Do you see what I'm saying? So we all, well, maybe you haven't had this experience, but the energy vampires, those people that you get around them, and when you leave, you just feel like, wow, depleted and exhausted, and it doesn't feel good. But then you probably also have those other people in your life that it doesn't matter how many hours you spend with them. It could be 5 minutes, it could be an entire day. And when you come away from them, you feel happy and peaceful and relaxed and all of those sorts of things, right? So being conscious of the people and the effect that their presence has on us. All right. These are some of the things that we need to be aware of. Make you your only priority when you are going through a recuperation process. It is important for us to understand that we cannot be effective and meet the needs of others until we meet our own needs. Okay. Very, very important. We've talked about this again and again on the show. What do they say when you get on an airplane? If that oxygen mask drops, put yours on first, because the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter who it is beside you, your partner, your spouse, your child, your parent, it doesn't matter who they are. You cannot help them if you are dead in the aisle because you did not take care of yourself. Okay. So you make yourself your top priority, your recuperation, your top priority, because that is how you're going to get through this the quickest. That is how you're going to find your feet the fastest. Have some fun. Have some fun, whatever fun is for you. I've got friends that they love to just go out into the yard and dance around and things like that. Play with your kids, play a game with somebody, talk with someone that you care about. I know we are in a time where there are limits and restrictions on what we're allowed to do, but the things that you can go to that will help you to recharge. So have some fun. Read a book, watch a movie. I don't know what it is for you. Figure it out, have some fun, because laughter is one of the best cures for anything. Okay. So have some fun. Oh, margaritas. Jen says margaritas. Now, see, that sounds lovely, doesn't it? Uh-huh. I like strawberry daiquiris. I like the strawberry daiquiris, but I don't drink very much. So, but good idea. It's Friday. Maybe I should do that tonight. Maybe I should do that tonight. Also, making plans for the things that you would enjoy doing that also help you replenish. Okay. So maybe you would really love to go for a walk in nature, but you can't go for a walk in nature because the weather is terrible, right? It's raining, it's pouring, whatever it is, you you just can't go today. So then maybe you make a plan to go tomorrow or next week or whatever the case may be. Maybe it would be a really wonderful thing to grab a friend and go on a road trip someplace. Go see a place that you haven't seen in a long time or go walk in the woods somewhere strange so that you can see things that you haven't seen before. Whatever the case may be, make a plan. Make a plan and give yourself something to look forward to. All right? It's very important. If you can't do it today, that's okay. Make a plan. All right, so we are going to head to our next break. Don't forget to grab that pen and paper because when we come back, we're going to walk through some of the steps that will help you when you get to this place, will help you recuperate, will help you find your energy and get back on your feet again quickly. Okay, so you're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive. I am Jackie Mott, your host. We're on Inspired Choices Network, and today we are talking about how slowing down can actually help us to speed up. Stick with us, we'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. And now we are going to get down to that nitty gritty. Now we're going to get down to it. So I hope you've got your pen and paper. If not, grab it. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere, at least not for another half hour or so. Okay, so when we find ourselves in this position, and it can happen for any number of reasons. One of the other times that this happened in my world was when my friend was staying with me and she had cancer and she ultimately died. And unfortunately, I ended up being a big part of her caregiver role. And that That was something. And, we have to acknowledge that not always are these things within our control. They're not always. These circumstances pop up. You've got a loved one that you need to show up for them. You need to show up for them because whatever the circumstances are. And I would never say that that's a bad idea ever, but it can deplete us. Okay, so this could be a result of something like me where I've just been trying to keep way too many balls in the air this last couple of months. It could be something where you've had to step into a caregiver role. It could be any number of circumstances. Whatever they are for you, just recognize it. That's the important thing, is recognize it. And sometimes you just have to keep pushing. There's nothing wrong with that, and I am not saying that there is. But what do we do when we get to that place where there's nothing left? Okay? So, I've put this in like a 1 to 4 order, but the truth of the matter is you can do this in whatever order makes sense for you. But the first tip that I've got for you right now is prioritize your list of tasks. So this is where it's really important for us to get clear on what is it that we're trying to do and what is it that needs to be done now or quickly or soon or like whatever. If there's a deadline to it, I need to have this thing done by this time. I actually started a list, I think it was last week, and I do this, I think probably every tax season. I get down to the wire. So there's like a week left or so. And then I'm like, okay, so who do I have still left to do? And in all honesty, the rule in the last couple of years has become if I don't have it before that, week, it's probably not getting done until May. And that's the reality. So um there's a boundary and important to have boundaries too. But I made this list and I was like, okay, so I've got this person to do and these are the things that I need to do and that's going to take me 2 hours. I've got this person and I need to do these things and that's going to take me 5 minutes. This is going to take me an hour. This is going to take me a day. Do you see what I'm saying? Because then I've got a visual of how much time how much time is required and therefore how quickly do I need to be working or what days am I going to have to I'm going to have to push. Do you see what I'm saying? So I make myself this sort of visual, but I also add to that list how much money is on the line. So this client's going to take me 2 hours. What am I waiting to bill for them? Okay. How much do I have to bill out to them? Because that also for me provides a bit of an incentive, right? So when I'm looking at the list and going, oh, wow, I've got 20 more hours to work and I've only got 2 days. Oh, but when I'm done that, I'm going to have this, this, and this. Do you see what I'm saying? So try to find somewhere in there that you can incentivize that list for yourself. Inside this task, we're gonna ask ourselves, what is my responsibility? What is my responsibility? So my responsibility, if you have your paperwork to me by this day, is that I will have it done by this day. And if you don't, then it goes there. My responsibility is that. And this year, particularly, I had some very urgent emergency kind of situations that came up in the last couple of weeks. And that really, like, that was probably one of the things that pushed it beyond my limits, right? Was those urgent situations. So there's a saying that I've heard many, many, many times. It goes something like, your lack of planning does not constitute my emergency. And I'm not entirely certain if I said that properly, but that's the basic gist of it. So if somebody has created a mess for themselves, is this something that really does need you to jump in and try to help them? Or is it something where they've created this mess and it's something that would be better served when you have the time and energy? All right. So what is your responsibility? And it's also important, I have a lot of different organizations that I'm part of. And sometimes the things that happen is that they shift something, they change something, they decide to do something different. And that throws a bit of a wrench into my plan because now their expectation is that there is something more that I need to do. It's okay for you to say no. It's okay for you to say, because a lot of us work this way. I have my plan. I know what I need to get done. When a wrench gets thrown into that, even a 5-minute wrench, it can throw the whole thing out of whack, right? So important for us to understand what is our responsibility. Where and what can you delegate? So is there any kind of task? And maybe that's I'm going to those food baskets or whatever they call those things, like they deliver the food and you just cook it. Or maybe you say, okay, so we're going to have pizza or Chinese or burgers or like whatever. Is there some way that you can delegate? Maybe the meal prep goes somewhere else, or someone in your home takes care of those things for you. Is there somebody who can go and do your grocery shopping, or different things like that? Where and what can you delegate? Okay, figure that out. What can wait? What can wait, or what needs to wait? Again, we were talking about that a moment ago. Something comes up for somebody else and you may really want to be able to step in right this minute and help them, but there are sometimes that things can just wait a few days. They can wait until, whatever. They can wait until May. They can wait until May. All right. So what can wait? And then it's so very important. And this maybe should be step one, but I've got it in step two here. Identify your needs. Identify your needs. Okay. You are the only person who knows what you need, even if you think that other people maybe should know you well enough. Or for example, we've gone through how many tax seasons. You know what I need at this stage in the game, don't you? Don't expect people to be telepathic. Identify your needs, and you are the one who is responsible for communicating them or finding solutions that will meet them. You are the one who's responsible. Okay, so very important, that radical personal responsibility. What do you need, and what needs to happen for you to have that? Do you need to ask for it? Do you need to make a plan? Do you need to, like, whatever it is on you to figure that out. And it maybe isn't that hard. I know that there are some restaurants that you can call ahead and say, okay, so on this date I would like a meal ready, and here's what I would like, and I'll pick it up at such and such time. Or so many delivery services right now. There's all kinds of different things that you can do to lessen your burden. So figure out what those things are. And if one of those things is, I need to blow off this afternoon, I need to blow off this afternoon and drive to the beach, and that is what I'm going to do, because that is my self-care. I got nothing left. I need to go and recharge my own batteries. It's okay for you to say that. So you have to identify your own needs. You also have to take action. This is where the boundaries thing comes in. Okay, so if somebody is calling me and saying, oh, I need your attention, I need your attention, I need your attention, and it's not business related, then you will very often hear me say, can we talk about this tonight? Is it something that needs my immediate attention, or can we talk about this tonight? Okay. So your boundaries, be clear on what you need and what you can do and what you can't do. Be clear on that. And if you run into situations, and sometimes we run into situations where people just, for whatever reason, they are unable to honor our boundary or our need for things to be handled in a certain way. You are absolutely within your rights to say, this is what I can do for you. And if that's not going to work for you, then I'm sorry. You know, you'll need to find another solution. You know, I can, this is what I can offer. If that works for you, wonderful. If it doesn't work for you, then you've got to find somebody else, or you've got to find a different solution. Or and sometimes in our personal lives we can say things like I just said, is this something that we can talk about tonight? I don't have the space for it right now. Can we talk about it later? All right. So boundaries. Now, this is the thing. This is the one thing. If you've got nothing else out of this show, this is the one thing that I really want you to hear. Make a self-care schedule and stick to it. I It doesn't even matter what it is. Whatever is the thing that recharges you, that replenishes you. Again, I mean, maybe this isn't the right time for some of this stuff, but for me, very often at the end of tax season, one of the things that I like to do is go and get my hair done or go and have like a manicure pedicure or something like that because it's just that little bit of pampering, right? So make a self-care schedule. Maybe it's a thing where you're going to be more conscious of how you're eating. Maybe it's a thing where you're going to be more conscious of your physical activity. I'll go for a walk in the morning or I'll go for a walk at the end of the day to blow off some of that stress because our bodies sometimes need the release for the stress as well. It could be something as simple as prioritizing fun and laughter. Maybe you make a date with a friend or your partner or whatever the case may be to go out and do something like just blow off the world, let your hair down, and have a good time. Jen's going to have some margaritas. Maybe I'll have some daiquiris, right? Just let your hair down, let it all hang out, and have a really good time. Sometimes it's something that simple. Whatever it is, do what you need to do and honor yourself. All right. This is about you taking care of you so you can get back on your feet and get back to the things that need your attention or the things that you desire. That's what this is about. So honor yourself always. So we are now going to head to our last break. We're getting right down to the wire here. Jen's probably going. Anyway, you are with us on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. When we come back, we are going to wrap up today's conversation about how slowing down can actually help you speed up. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, and today we are talking about how slowing down can actually help you speed up. So I mentioned earlier that we were on a bit of a class with this fellow named Dr. Floyd Spence yesterday, and I loved what he was talking about. He was talking about this analogy where chopping wood. It was chopping wood and two people, and one was pushing through, and the other, every hour or so, he would take a break. So who ended up cutting more wood was the person who kept taking breaks. Part of the reason was because he was sharpening his axe while he was taking a break, while the other guy is going further and further with an axe that is becoming more duller and duller and duller. And of course, it's not going to be as effective. So that's exactly the right analogy. We cannot be as effective with a dull axe as we can with a sharp one. So when we take the time to do whatever it is that recharges us, if that's a nap, if it's, if it's staying in your jammies for 3 days, it doesn't matter what it is. When we take the time and allow ourselves the space to do those things, it is very much like sharpening that axe, right? So then when we get back at it, we are clear, we are ready to go, and we can think clearly, all of that kind of stuff. It really is very much about this sort of like flow, energy in, energy out, energy in, energy out. And again, we go back to that water bottle. So as long as I keep refilling my water bottle, then I can keep going. But if I don't take the time to allow that water bottle to refill, then I deplete and deplete and deplete until there's nothing left to give. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not a hard concept, but it is important for us to understand what is causing us to make these choices and do these things that actually are not beneficial, not honoring, not even kind, not even kind. So that's one of the last things that I want to leave you with today is what is kind for you? And what would you expect of someone else? What would you expect? Would you expect someone else who was working with you, someone that you care about? Okay, it's very important because our ultimate purpose, in my humble opinion, for being on this planet is to learn how to love ourselves, how to love ourselves well. Because once we learn that, then we can share that, we can give that. Do you see what I'm saying? So, what would you expect of someone you love? Would you expect them to drive themselves into the ground, or would you expect them to need a little bit of time and that's okay? These are the things it's so important for us to ask ourselves. What would I expect of someone else? What would I require of someone else in these circumstances? And then give yourself the same grace that you might give to someone else because you're important. There is only one of you on this planet. There's only ever been one of you on this planet. It is so important for us to understand. There has never been another person, and there never will be, who was born with exactly your same gifts, your same flaws, your same challenges, your same smile, your same anything. There will never be another one of you. So please, please take good care of you. Please take good care of you. We need you. We need you. And probably more than me, the people who love you need you. They need you to show up as your best self as often as possible. All right. So that brings us right down to the wire here. I cheated today, see, and I'm okay with this because I haven't done quotes from other people on the show for quite a long time. I've been trying to come up with an additional little bit with a golden nugget in it for you for a long time. Today I cheated. So you can't really see that terribly well, but this is the quote I want to leave you with today. You have permission to rest. You are not responsible for fixing everything that is broken. You do not have to try and make everyone happy. For now, take time for you. It's time to replenish. So there you go. What are you going to do this weekend for you? What are you going to do that's going to refill your water bottle, that's going to replenish your soul and your spirit? What are you going to do? Isn't it wonderful? We have a whole weekend to do it. Yay. I've got some stuff planned. I've got some stuff planned that hopefully will get me back on my feet by Monday. Yay. All right. So thank you so much for being with us on Time to Rise and Thrive today. We will be back next Friday at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Central, no, 12 noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 Mountain Time, and 10 Pacific. Next week's show, I don't even have a title for you. And I'm going to give myself permission to be okay with that because what happened this week was it was really bad. I think I sent it in this morning. Oops. So on the weekend, that's one of the little chores that I have is getting myself sort of situated for the next few weeks. So I don't have a title for you, but I promise you it will be me and it will be honest and it will be as good as I know how to make it. So thanks again. Thanks again for your time, for your attention. I so enjoy doing this and I appreciate every one of you that comes on and shares some of the energy with me. I appreciate your comments and your thoughts. And don't forget, it's time for you to rise and thrive. So I'm Jackie Mott of Subliminal Mindset Mastery. This is Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.